Time now for a new report from Bloomberg Intelligence. In the face of climate change, utilities worldwide are setting goals to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. But when it comes to crunching the numbers, they're not stacking up. Here to tell us more is Kane of Bloomberg Intelligence. You have a new tracker, Eric. Tell us about this tracker and what does it show regarding company behaviour?
Right. So what we're seeing is a majority of companies, at least in Europe and in the US, are setting carbon reduction targets. Japan and China are a little bit behind in terms of setting targets. But when we look at those targets against IEA, or the International Energy Association targets, we see that most companies are falling short of what would be needed to maintain warming below 2 degrees.
One thing that always has concerned me about this whole process is common standards, comparing apples with apples rather than apples with oranges. Even the language around some of this stuff is very hard to decipher. How much sort of is that part of the problem here?
It's a great question, and I think it's a similar answer to the first one in that in the US and in the EU, we do see relatively standardized disclosure, and we see units that are kind of trackable, targets that are comparable. In Japan and China, again, disclosure is really lacking, and we're seeing far fewer companies establishing targets. So that kind of disparity between the regions really does make the analysis a little bit more difficult.
Now, Eric, are there regions, geographies, or sectors that are doing it better than others?
Certainly. So in the EU, we see kind of the most proactive action towards decarbonization, and the US is slightly behind. There are, of course, companies that stand out within both regions. So in the United States, NiSource is one company that has pledged to reduce emissions by 90% by 2030 by retiring existing coal-fired power plants and replacing that with renewable capacity.